Hello, my name is Antoinette Beta from the University of New Mexico at Gallup, and I'm here to talk about remote research opportunities, expand reach, and increase diversity, a need to expand and continue after COVID-19. Research experiences for undergraduates, also known as REU programs, were initially designed to improve student educational outcomes by providing access to research experiences. The overall goal of the REU programs, in addition to improving student outcomes, is to attract a diverse pool of students into careers in science and engineering. There are numerous benefits to individuals participating in REU programs. Overall, REU programs increase participation and retention in STEM majors and overall improve student knowledge of career options and disciplinary thinking. Students who participate in an REU program are more likely to complete their degree. And most importantly, REU programs increase the persistence of pursuing STEM careers from individuals from historically underrepresented groups. I can personally attest to the benefits of an REU program, having been an REU student myself. Without participating in an REU, I would not have pursued a graduate education and would not be in the career that I am today. Participating in an REU program not only influences your educational outcomes, but it also influences your employment opportunities. Shown on the graph here is the relative importance of various attributes when evaluating graduates for job positions based on hiring role. The yellow bars are individuals from an executive role, the orange bars are individuals from a manager role, and the brown bars are individuals from an HR role. What we can see consistently is that internships and employment during college are one of the highest rated attributes for evaluating individuals for a job position. We can demonstrate the previous graph based off of industry. The vertical axis refers to the relative importance of these attributes based on percentage, and the horizontal axis refers to various industries. The importance of internships such as RU programs is highly valued across all industries, especially in science and technology. REU programs can also improve the overall demographic nature of the earth and science field. Earth science continues to have the lowest rate of racial and ethnic diversity, with only 8% of graduate degrees being awarded to Black, Latinx, and Indigenous people in the United States. Shown on this graph is the number of PhDs that have been granted since the 1970s, broken down by race and ethnicity. One thing that we consistently see over the 40 years is that we have had no progress in improving diversity in the earth sciences. These numbers become more dismal when we look at the intersection of marginalized identities. In the past 40 years, only 330 doctorates have been awarded to Native American, Black, and Latinx women, which only accounts for 1.46% of all doctorates awarded in the past 40 years. Because RU programs overall increase persistence in degree completion as well as persistence in STEM careers for individuals from underrepresented groups, RU programs have the potential to transform the demographics and overall fabric of our field. In December of 2019, I examined the National Science Foundation's RU website for postings in earth science to determine what is the typical format of RU programs. Each posting was examined for the language based off of relocation, the length of the program, and if there is language specifically targeted at minoritized groups. All programs listed in the NSF-RU website in Earth Science had explicit language about relocation, meaning that students would have to move in order to participate in these programs. The graph on the right-hand side shows the distribution of the length of RU programs. The vertical axis refers to frequency, and the horizontal axis refers to the length of the RU program in time. What we can see is that the majority of RU programs are typically between 8 to 10 weeks, or on average 2 months. And finally, the pie chart located on the bottom of the slide shows that 58% of these advertisements had specific language targeted at minoritized groups in STEM, encouraging them to apply. Based on the typical design of the REU programs offered in earth science, it's clear that these programs are designed to provide an intensive and immersive research experience. Because of the nature of their design, it's unclear how individuals can hold other obligations while participating in these RU programs. These obligations could be educational, financial, family, or cultural in nature. While the REU framework is effective, it's important for us to be critical and ask ourselves about the design of these programs. Let's ask ourselves this. Could you relocate with less than a 2 months notice for a couple of months to a new location for a temporary employment opportunity? Most of us would probably answer no, especially given the current economic situation that's ongoing due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, we are asking students to participate in these programs that are critical for their retention into their degree programs, as well as their employment opportunities into the future. If RUs are to recruit and retain individuals from underrepresented in the geosciences, our programs have to be accessible. If we want to improve accessibility to these research experiences, we have to address the potential barriers that prevent students from participating. Some of these barriers could be financial in nature, such as it requires students to take time off of work while they still have to maintain their financial obligations, such as rent. It can also create economic precarity because students may have to leave their current employment for a temporary assignment where they may not be able to get that employment again. Economic precarity is an issue that's particularly acute from individuals who are from regions that already have high rates of unemployment. Students also may have dependent care obligations, family obligations, cultural obligations, and medical obligations and physical limitations in their ability to participate in these REU programs. By understanding these barriers, we can design an RU program that increases accessibility to these research experiences. This can be done by providing flexibility in the modality of how students participate in their research experiences. We can compensate students for their time, support students for their costs of their gear and other tools they need in order to participate in their research experience, provide stipends to pay for financial and dependent obligations, as well as provide digital research experiences that can be done within their own community. In 2019, we designed a remote RU opportunity that leveraged digital research experiences that allowed students to participate in research while being able to maintain their family, cultural, financial, and educational obligations at home. We later expanded this remote research framework to include a field experience to expand on the different types of skill sets students will develop in their RU program, as well as have a direct hand in collecting the data that will be used in their remote research opportunities. By designing an RU program that addresses the social and economic barriers that prevent students from participating in traditional formats, we were able to have a tremendous increase in diversity. We were able to provide 19 students with research experiences. Of these students, 63% identified as female and 47% identified from belonging to a historically minoritized racial and ethnic group such as Black, Indigenous, and/or Latinx. To put these numbers into context, this is double the current rate of representation of women in the geoscience workforce and over 5 times the rate of representation from individuals from historically minoritized racial and ethnic groups. Now that we understand the importance of RU programs and their need to be accessible, let's examine the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on RU programs. From mid-March to early April, most U.S. states issued shelter-in-place orders. This coincides with the same time that most RU programs are evaluating applicants and sending out award notifications. With the combination of the high rates of infection and travel restrictions and limited university and research operations, this dramatically impacted RU programs in 2020. While we address many of the barriers that exist to traditional RU programs, the COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated many of these pre-existing barriers. It is done so by the fact that the pandemic has disproportionately impacted communities of color and has increased economic, housing, and food insecurity for many individuals. The pandemic highlighted and increased the technological gap that exists between many individuals across the country today, in particular individuals from minoritized groups. This also led to the cancellation of REU programs and other research opportunities. In 2020, 20% of the REU programs that were listed in the NSF REU website for earth science were canceled. While many of the cancellations of REU programs were out of the hands of many program directors, many individuals in the geoscience REU community worked to adapt traditional frameworks to be safe and engaging during the pandemic. Many groups collected information on best practices and resources to provide remote learning and research opportunities, and 20% of those REU programs moved to online modalities. This demonstrates that RU programs can be adapted to offer remote offerings and increase accessibility. And it's our recommendation to continue offering remote research experiences after the COVID-19 pandemic because this increases access and participation and overall improves diversity in the earth sciences. Offering remote research experiences is just one way that we can improve access to research experiences. However, there's still many challenges that we still face today. We still need to address access in internet and technological resources. We need to increase financial support and stability to students and understand the demands that students are going through today, as well as we need to learn how to better support students through trauma and crisis situations. By addressing the barriers to access to research experiences for undergraduates, we can start making significant changes to improve diversity in the earth sciences. Thank you for your time for listening to this presentation. This project was funded by the National Science Foundation Division of Earth Sciences, and we have many individuals to thank for their contributions to this project.